Welcome to the Octiv Sweat Equity Podcast, a show designed exclusively for gym owners and fitness enthusiasts like you. I'm your host, Mark Forsey. Today's episode explores the importance of shaping brand identity to stand out in a growing fitness market. In other words, it's about finding that one thing that makes you different from all the rest. Because this is what generates irrationally loyal members who keep coming back because they resonate so deeply with your brand values and your brand personality. So without further ado, I want to introduce our first guest, the remarkable co-founding owner of Motley Crew, Steven van Jaarsveld, or as I call him, Stevie.
Okay, Mark. Thanks for having me.
Stevie, the Motley Crew brand is widely popular and known by many, but why don't you tell us how it all began?
Okay, it was a passion project to start out. Did CrossFit as a hobby. I used to be in a different industry. I used to be in the finance game, and that's where we kind of started. Myself, my wife, we decided at one stage we had to do something together. You know, because we were living past each other. She was working till 5 or 6 p.m. and same with me. And then sometimes after work you go for a drink with the colleagues, and before you know it, it's 7 or 8 o'clock at night, and you haven't seen each other yet, and you haven't spent any quality time together.
Yeah.
And we decided, I was doing boxing at the time to try and keep my fitness levels up. And punching people in the face wasn't her cup of tea. And then she actually came up with the idea and said, let's try this CrossFit thing together. So we signed up in 2014, started doing some CrossFit, and then enjoyed it so much and we made a couple of friends at the gym. And then came end of 2017, and the building that our box was based in was being demolished. And middle of December, we got an email from our box telling us they're closing down by the end of Jan. Luckily, there was a sister box very close by that we could go to. But then suddenly all the traffic running to that one, it was very congested. And we went away for a weekend with some friends that, were in the CrossFit community. We were obviously devastated when we heard the news that all gyms closing down. And we decided to...
Yeah, because it becomes like your second home.
Yeah, it's where all your friends are.
Yeah.
It's where everyone hangs out. It's the closest I can try and get it or describe it to people that can't relate to it is it's like playtime on the school ground.
Yes.
It's people that you see every single day.
Yeah.
Coming and doing something with you together. So it's suffering together, playing together.
Yeah.
And it's a melting pot of different personalities, and through the years you filter people to become very, very good friends with a select few people, or select group of people. And then we went away for a weekend, and we weren't happy in the environment that we were in. It was just too congested. We didn't see all of our friends, and also it's like for example, it's like when a business is taken over by another one, that mix of personalities sometimes clash. Culture clashes. Culture
creep.
Yeah. And the dynamics change.
Yeah.
So we went away, and we were in this kind of catch-22 thing where we weren't enjoying the thing that brought us together anymore, and we needed an alternative. There was none at the time, and I said, well, can't we do something? Can't we start up something? Obviously, have no coaching background at all.
Yeah.
Or same with my friends. We had no idea. We know a lot about the sport, but we couldn't actually.
Yeah.
We love Italian food, but we couldn't cook it.
Yes. Yes.
So we knew we needed a chef. We needed someone to come and make us this specific thing that we needed. So we put our heads together, and after a long weekend away, myself, my wife, Leslie, which is now at Octiv, Tony and Bobby, two of our friends from Sweden. We put our heads together and we decided, you know what, we're going to give it a go and see if we can start our own little community to just have a place to hang out with.
Yeah.
Back in the day, we called it the Treehouse.
Okay. Yeah, exactly.
We just wanted a treehouse to hang out. But obviously, treehouses in the center of Cape Town cost a lot of money, and there needs to be some economics behind it. So we found a spot, an amazing spot, and initially we went back to our original coach, and we had a discussion with him. Was he willing to, leave his current job and come and help us? Obviously, there's some risk involved there. He decided not to do that. And the project almost fell through. We were like, you know what, we can't find the right person. We can't find the right fit. Maybe we should can this whole idea. Maybe it was a pipe dream. We were away for a weekend. Yeah. We consuming a little bit too much alcohol, and then ideas go crazy.
That's how most of the world's problems are solved.
Yeah, just have a drink or two. And then I've made one more phone call to a guy called Brent Shield, and he at the time was a part-time coach at another gym, and he said, you know what, he lives quite a while out of town, and he couldn't help us at the time, but he knew a guy called Tyron Hatch that is looking for a new opportunity.
Oh, awesome. Is that how you met Ty?
Yeah. That's so great. I met him. Yeah. So I've only seen Ty once at a previous event. He used to host CrossFit events in town.
Yeah.
And I only seen him once. So I took the idea to my wife. My wife said, absolutely not. She thought, no, this guy's way too cocky. Can't. I was like, well, we don't actually know the guy. Let's just have a conversation. So we met, just to give you a timeline. So we start end of December, we got that email. End of January, we closed down. We went on holiday on the first weekend of April, which is typically that Easter weekend.
Yes.
By end of April, I met up with Ty. I think it was 2 or 3 months before the month end.
Yes, within a month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Met up with Ty on the Friday afternoon. And we had a coffee. He didn't know where the place was, where the spot was. I just phoned him and said, well, I'm looking for a CrossFit coach. We've got a very nice space. Are you interested? And him and Brent met me at Cape Quarter. We had a coffee. After which I decided, okay, let's go and show them the space. Show them the space, and I could see he loved it. You could see his brain go crazy. He's quite a creative guy, and he carries most of the weight when it comes to the creative stuff at the gym. And then that was the Friday. Monday morning, we met up again, shook hands, and we said, okay, let's do this thing.
That's awesome.
That was the 1st of May.
Yeah.
And we got everything together. We opened our doors for our opening party on the 1st of June.
So, I mean, it's the first time I'm hearing this story in as much detail. And you went from idea to door opening within 2 months.
Yeah.
Or 3 months.
Yeah.
And it just brings me to, there's a famous quote, and I don't know who it's by, but the top trait of all successful people, the one thing they have in common is a bias to action. So it's not just coming up with an idea, but actually the execution thereafter, and quick execution is so important.
Yeah, I mean, the idea was in our head now for 2 or 3 months prior to that. I mean, it's only kind of as the cards fell into place, and then you have other frictions, like you can't just sign a lease in your personal capacity. You have to sign it in a company name.
Yes.
And we just registered this company, but they want financial statements to know that you can pay the
credit
rental.
Scores and whatever. Yeah.
All that kind of stuff. So I managed to do it through my financial services business that I owned.
Yeah.
To rent the place. And then a year later, we changed the lease to the new company. But I mean, it was massive risk. And if that thing failed, all that lease, and it was quite a steep lease at the time. It's in a very sought after area.
Yeah.
You know, it would immense financial strain.
Yes, for sure.
So it was quite risky from that point of view. Yeah. But it felt super risky at the time. So the space was actually quite small. A lot smaller than what you think a conventional CrossFit gym would look like.
Yeah.
But it was all by design. We typical startup gyms start in low rental areas with warehouse type look and effects. And we said from day one, it needs to be in high street. It needs to be visible.
Yeah. Shop front.
It needs to be like a retail shop almost. For the reason we felt that CrossFit, the CrossFit as a brand at that stage was kind of slowing down a little bit. And then if you had to attract people would really actually drive specifically to go to a class. It needed to be accessible. It needed to be easy to use. There's a parking lot right across the corner from a shopping center. It was in a relatively high street area. And also in a nice area.
Yeah.
So it helped us kind of solidify the look and feel of the gym.
Yeah.
We just needed a brand.
And the name Motley Crew?
I wish we could take credit for it, but we got professionals to help us.
Okay.
Yeah. So we got a marketing agency.
Yeah.
Duke Group.
Yes. And they were also members.
A lot of them are still members. And they helped us with our corporate identity and all that stuff. So they gave us a couple of names. We were playing with some really weird names. The one was FGB, which stood for fucking great box.
Yes.
But we weren't sure that was going to fly. The other one was the Cape Cobras. And they were like, well, it's kind of a cricket team, but we'll play with the idea. And then the name Motley came up. And we were like, well, are they going to associate us with the band and etc.? And we decided, well, the explanation for Motley Crew was just too powerful not to.
It resonates.
To avoid it.
Yeah. And it when you look at you guys as a team, it is like you all come from different backgrounds, and it's like a melting pot, which is really cool.
Yeah.
Speaking of different backgrounds, you correct me if I'm wrong. You were a hedge fund manager before.
Yeah. So I started out in the finance game. The year before the financial crash.
Good timing.
The good days, and then 2008 financial crash happened. Obviously, made a couple of moves, but predominantly through my financial service tenure, I worked for a large insurance corporate that owned a hedge fund business. I was based in that hedge fund business. And then in 2014, I broke away, started my own hedge fund, ran that for a couple of years. And then 2 years later, started my own, which they call a long only shop, but it was basically just a deleveraged version of that business. And I exited that business middle 2019. So Motley was a year old.
Okay, interesting.
When I decided to come full time to Motley. Yeah.
Okay, that's great. So it wasn't a clean break before you started.
No,
Motley.
so Ty started day one. He coached majority of the classes, and then very soon after that, CJ joined us.
Yes.
Which is now our head coach, and the two of them managed all the classes, but it got to a point very quickly where it became unsustainable for two coaches to run all those classes. We went from day one, we were about 40 members, and we hit 100 members within 3 months of being open.
Yeah.
And then suddenly you have this problem that all CrossFit gyms have at one stage, is that the morning class, that specific class is overbooked.
Yeah.
And all the other ones are empty. And.
Yeah.
So strategically, because we were a big group of people supporting it from the start, everyone kind of felt like they helped out or wanted to help out. So we asked members favors to train at different time slots, just to artificially fill up those classes so that they became full.
So you could spread it.
Yes. Because no one goes to an empty class. People go to...
It's quite a nice strategy, because actually, as you were saying that, I wanted to ask you, how did you overcome that? So it's quite a nice strategy.
So it was a nice way to get people to help out.
You kind of have to build like bonds with people to be able to ask them to help you.
Yeah.
You know? And how, like... So obviously with Motley Crew, what we've noticed is that you guys have a very loyal membership base, and something which I'd love to get into shortly is just how, you know, you've got a very distinct personality as a business. And was that by design? Was it deliberate, or did it happen organically because of who you guys were and girls, obviously?
So day one we had a personality. And we said, this is what we want to achieve. Our goal was to be the CrossFit gym for all, for the 99%, not for the 1%.
Yes.
So initially we didn't want the competitive athletes.
Yeah.
There's a couple of pros and cons when it comes to that, but we believed most people just want to come in for an hour, get a good workout in.
Yeah.
And then what they do after that is up to them. So a lot of people just hang out.
Yeah.
Becomes like a club almost.
Yes.
Like a membership club that you have in different sports. And so by design, we wanted to be a friendly, welcoming place. What Ty did from day one is he had this thing where if someone walks by, he shouts at them. All the time.
He still does that.
Yeah. And it was a rule implemented to all the coaches. If you see someone walk into the door, you have to shout their name. And if you don't know their name, you have to shout at them.
Yes.
Because immediately they feel like they're on the spot, especially when new members or prospective members walk in.
Yeah.
They'll rather come in, if they're not greeted within the first 5 or 10 seconds, it's easy to turn around and walk away.
Yes.
But if you catch their attention, they feel like obliged to stay there.
Personal as well.
Yes. And then once you kind of start engaging with them, it's very friendly after.
Yes.
It's a very friendly environment. So it's just to kind of remove all the frictions that we saw in previous experiences, from my experience at my previous gym and Ty's experiences at his previous gym.
Yeah.
It's this thing about if you were a rocket ship, should you make it more streamlined? Should you give it more fuel? Should you make it weigh less or give it more fuel?
Yeah.
So we knew we had to give it more fuel by marketing and getting ourselves out there, but we also knew we had to make it as streamlined as possible. It needs to be easy for someone that has never done a fitness class in their life, coming into a very intimidating space. And feeling welcome immediately. That was the goal. So we had to make people feel comfortable day one.
So I'm really big on taking a certain value that we have as a company and not just talking about it, but actually implementing certain processes to make sure that this value can thrive. So I love what you said about, like, you want to make people feel welcome and not intimidated. And this is a real value that you guys have. And so, you know, making sure to acknowledge and break the ice with every single person that walks in. So that's an actionable thing that one can do. And we know that by doing this, you know, everyone will feel welcome when they walk in. Are there any other examples of tangible things that you guys do to make sure that?
So we make sure that the coaches know the people's names before they get to the class.
Yeah.
So very rarely a coach would not know your name. So as you walk in and it's your first day, it's your trial class, that coach has gotten a message. We've got a message group to message everyone every day. Every day we've got different drop-ins and trials and stuff happening. And everyone needs to know if there's a new face arriving. The other thing is also, being very deliberate about your space, in the sense that the brief to the coaches was, this is your house. If someone walks into your house and starts walking around, you are not going to sit there and wonder, what is this person doing?
Yes, exactly.
You're going to approach them and say, hi, can I help you? What's going on? And I think that culture just kind of stuck so well that we've had instances where coaches are busy or maybe have to run out the door quickly to grab something, and members take over that role, where members become that welcoming, or they recreate that welcoming environment, which is great.
That's amazing. And that's so it goes back to that the culture is not what you say, it's what you do, and it's how you make people feel. So obviously, if you've made them feel that way, it resonates with them, and they understand, when someone new comes in, like, they want to make them feel welcome. They feel like invested.
Because everyone feels that by day one. Everyone feels intimidated. Everyone walks in. I still go and drop in at numerous boxes, and I'm sometimes surprised how, number one, people don't acknowledge you, or they don't greet you, or they don't, introduce you to the class, which is such a simple thing to make people feel a little bit more comfortable.
And I just on that point, so I have visited more gyms than the average person, obviously by the nature of what we do. And when I go to a new gym and do a drop-in, I feel nervous.
Yes.
So you can imagine someone who's maybe not immersed in this industry, who is joining a new place or coming to try out something new. It's such a big point. And that first impression of when you walk in, how you feel, I think would make the difference between staying or not staying.
No, absolutely. I mean, it's one of the main reasons people come back. I mean, it's such a daunting task walking into a CrossFit gym, especially looking at what is out there, or what the general idea is of what CrossFit is.
Definitely. Something that I also feel you guys did pretty well, or did very well, is in terms of your actual brand. If you look at CrossFit boxes globally, you find CrossFit at the beginning of the name usually. And I find with Motley, you guys have built Motley as its own standalone brand. And you happen to also, you have a CrossFit box, which I think is a really big insight in terms of, if you base your identity on something that could potentially have impact on you, when the lockdowns happened, for example, then you feel completely
your
controlled.
whole brand is your whole brand is immersed in this brand.
Whereas if you have your own standalone brand, you've got more power in that.
Absolutely.
So how did you manage to, because from day one, your social media game, your digital presence, and then when you walk in, there was a very clear brand there that, like, people want to wear the t-shirt, whether, whether they train at your box or not, etc. How did you manage to create, obviously you worked with an agency, which is cool, but we've all worked with agencies before, and actually it comes down to the actual company dictating the process. Was there anything that you guys kind of focused on in terms of your brand that you can think of?
So the CI and stuff that the guys built us was amazing. In day one, it didn't look like a CrossFit gym. So our initial response as well, when we saw it day one, was also a little bit surprised. We were like, you know what, this actually does not look like a CrossFit gym, because we were expecting something with a barbell or something with a dumbbell or something like that.
Which is probably the best thing about it, right?
Yes.
Because
there's nothing like that. And after not a lot of convincing, the logo is based upon, if you look at this one,
Yes.
this little one over here. So it's a M and a W,
Yes.
okay, which also works for the men's and women's toilets. But
Oh,
for the me to the we,
yes.
that was the explanation. So
cool.
me comes in on my own, and you become part of the group
I love
to
that.
the we.
That's
And it
really
also
cool.
looks like a barbell,
Yes.
a little barbell.
Yes. Oh,
So
that's great.
So that was the kind of corporate, the CI behind it. From a what's the word I'm looking for? A differentiating factor. From differentiating, or how we differentiate ourselves was we realized that conventional CrossFit gyms up until that point, the experience I've had with them was they teach you how to make Italian food.
Yes.
Okay. They don't teach you how to run an Italian restaurant.
Yes.
So they would say, okay, this is the ingredients, this is how you make the perfect pizza, and then go and make pizzas.
Yes.
So now you can make an amazing pizza, but no one teaches you how to run a pizzeria.
Yes.
So we kind of knew we kind of had to make this business viable if we wanted to keep this thing that we had, and we all felt very connected to it. Even members felt very connected to the brand. So it was a thing. At one stage, it was a thing. It wasn't allowed to fail.
Yes.
It wasn't allowed to.
It's not an option.
It's not an option. You don't have the choice. And members would frequently step in and help out if we needed to help somewhere.
Mm.
From a financial standpoint, we have been helped once or twice before. You get to a point where just funds run out and you're like, I don't know what to do now.
Mm.
And then you get people that come and help out, and you have loans, and then you pay them back, and somehow you make it work to the point where the thing kind of stands on its own.
Yeah. Someone once told me, your only job as a founder, your only two jobs is make sure everyone's rowing in the right direction and don't run out of money.
Yes.
So, I mean,
it sounds easy, but
it's of every business.
Yeah, it sounds easy, but it's definitely not as easy.
Yeah.
The rowing in the same direction part one. Yeah. And luckily we've got a very small team. The people that we do have as coaches are handpicked, trained by us, and have to want to be there. They go through quite a rigorous shadow period where they have to shadow for what feels like 1 million hours before they can even start doing a warm-up. So we have quite a lot of people inquiring about coming to coach with us. And we say, okay, cool, we don't mind you. Just come and do the shadow hours first. And then 2-3 hours in, they stop.
Yeah.
So it's quite a nice way.
Which is a blessing, actually.
Yes.
It's like a good way to screen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they have to kind of prove that they really want to be there.
Yeah.
And then once they want to be there, then obviously we want you more.
Yes.
And, Ty always has a good saying. He says, you can make bad coaches good coaches, but you can't make bad humans good humans.
Yes. 100%.
So he's always looking good humans. Doesn't matter on your coaching level. We can always work on that.
100%. Culture fits, like right mindset. Yeah. So, obviously, when you started with one facility, and you've now got 4 facilities. It is 4, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, 3.
3 facilities. And what I can see is that it's a really good mix. Your founding team has a good mix of like the domain knowledge, and the business acumen as well. And I think like when we started the company, and when I was, traveling around meeting with CrossFit boxes everywhere, the owners, it was almost a sin to talk about the business side of things, to talk about money and like trying to build a profitable business.
It was weird. It was weird in the beginning where it felt like everyone had this passion project.
Yeah.
But no one's allowed to talk about the money part, even though it's a very expensive hobby.
Of course.
But yeah, I mean, like everything, you need to pay your way.
Yeah.
And it needs to be viable. And if if you are successful, it needs to pay you for the time that you actually put in.
Exactly. So like in your 20s, it's nice to have a passion project. But, as you grow older, first of all, your requirements as a founder, because as you start a family and so on, it becomes unsustainable to be coaching every class yourself and to be, living hand to mouth. So it's something that's super important, because if the passion dies very quickly when you get to that point and you feel trapped. Did you always plan to have multi-location and to scale this business? Or did you do the first one and almost like see the opportunity from there?
Option 2. So we started as a passion project, and we knew we had to have, I think the number at the time was 114 members to make the thing sustainable.
Yes.
As it was. But then as you get to know someone like Ty that ran the gym full time with CJ, you realize, well, these guys can't do it for 10 years flat out at the pace they are running and earning the money that they are earning now.
Yeah.
They also need to be moving forward and going somewhere.
Yes.
So then you start doing the math and looking at how this thing actually works. So we currently have 3 locations. We are planning a 4th, but we have, to date, we've opened 6 gyms.
Yes.
So we've opened 6 Motleys.
Yes.
Or taking the one, just moving it to another location. So they do fail.
Yeah.
They do fail. And you learn so much from those failures, especially when it comes to landlords and sticky points on how to kind of try and avoid them. Especially when it comes to space. We've rented spaces that are too small.
Yeah.
We've rented spaces that are too big. We've got into bed with the wrong partners. We've tried licensing agreements.
Yeah.
And out of every different interaction, we've learned a couple of things. And you just add it to your list, your checklist. So next time when you get to a new location, from day one, boom, this is...
what not to do.
Yeah. So imagine it's like a TV game, right? So day one, you start, you level 1, you make all the mistakes and you learn.
Yeah.
Until you get to level 35. To jump stage 1, 2, and 3 is then easy.
Exactly.
You just kind of start at stage 4.
If you don't mind me asking, if you can list your top 3 non-negotiables when it comes to starting a new location, what would your top 3 things be, either to do or to not do? To avoid, I mean.
So what you want, first thing, is the lease agreement has to be in a new company. So that your current gym
doesn't have the risk.
Yes, that you don't have the risk of opening a new one.
Yes, that's a good one. Yeah.
When you have a partnership, you have to be majority.
Yeah.
Because the management of the gym and how the thing operates, the secret sauce is still up to you.
So you wouldn't go for a 50-50?
No, you do need veto, because you do need some kind of veto right. Otherwise, it wouldn't work. If someone was willing to take on all the risk, like a franchise,
yes,
that is a different discussion to have.
Yes,
which we are also looking into. But if you are going into a partnership, the people running, we've made all the mistakes already, so we kind of know we need to have the majority of the say.
Yeah.
And then the last one is probably getting the right people involved. That's always the hardest, dude, because you never know.
100%.
You never know.
And I think, look, my follow-on thought from that was, so you start your first facility, you build this bulletproof culture, and you open new facilities that have new people and personalities in them. And I mean, in your case, you've got one in Johannesburg, you've got 2 in Cape Town. So it's even far geographically. How do you maintain? Because obviously you want members that come to any of your facilities to have a fairly uniform experience.
Yeah.
How do you make sure that your culture is strong enough that the one from the original location actually resonates with the rest, and people have a similar feeling anywhere they walk in.
So it's like having kids, right? They all kind of look like you, but they're very different.
Yes.
But their value system needs to be the same.
Yes.
So you will have different personalities in different boxes. We have it in Cape Town, literally the 2 or 3 kilometers apart,
Yes.
and they have different personalities. The one in Joburg is a completely different personality to the ones down here.
But the core fundamental values.
Yeah. So the values are, it's friendly, it's accessible, everyone should be welcome, and and we try and get people to do their best.
Yes.
Our slogan is "Be Your Better."
Yes.
So every single person has to have their best experience for that day.
Yes.
Because it changes. I mean, people in Joburg, or we had a box in Hilton. It's a very different culture in that little town to a Cape Town.
100%.
Joburg and Cape Town can't be more
different. Yeah.
So you can't have you have the same recipe, but you do have a different chef.
Yeah. Yeah. And do you have any checks and balances to be able to spot problems early? Like a culture problem? I think mostly culture problems, because I think metric problems that you can track are easy to spot, you know?
Yeah, I mean, from a staff point of view, we have a check-in every week. With the Joburg facility, for example, we check in twice a week.
Yeah.
And the one check-in is literally just to talk about feelings.
Yeah.
What's the vibe? How are you guys doing? And then discuss single interactions with members. So sometimes a member would say something that kind of sticks to a coach, and they would not like it or have a good idea, and they'd bring it to the table. We also, Ty does most of the traveling, so we try and get him there at least 3 times a year to go and see what's happening. And he's very good at not interfering with the way that they do it, but just kind of keeping the formula the same. And from that, we have very low staff turnover, which is surprising for a CrossFit gym.
Yeah.
We don't have
a
lot of staff turnover, and it's because we kind of are very connected to each other, in the sense that you see everyone every day, basically, and you do talk to people about, stuff that's happening in your personal life, stuff that's happening in everyday life. So from this point, it's still relatively manageable. We learned a lot from our gym that we had in Hilton, our box that we had in Hilton. That one being very remote, it's quite hard to get there. And it was managed by an amazing coach called Kelly. She did a fantastic job there, but she was under immense pressure from the facility that she was in. And it was tough to give her the backing that we needed.
Yeah.
So we learned a lot from that experience, and kind of how to handle situations like that. But yeah, it's just getting people to a standard where they are good enough, so they are not questioned all the time.
Yes.
Because CrossFitters are weird. They know a lot about the sport. There's a lot of people that know a lot about the movement and what we do, and they will call you out on it if they kind of sniff. We always say, if they sniff blood, you're dead in the water. And this is,
and it's very passionate people also.
Yeah, they're very passionate. And then you have to, and you get those experiences where you have to just step away and tell people, you know what, I don't know. I'll get the answer for you, and you have to actually follow up, rather than be defensive. And tell a person, well, I know better.
100%.
Because you are in an environment where there's 14 people around you.
Yeah.
And you almost like, I always tell the coaches, they underestimate their impact on the people that take the classes.
Yes.
Or their social standing.
Yes.
For the reason I always say they're almost like a pastor, in the sense that they've got a relatively high social standing because a lot of people talk about them.
Yes.
Or are connected via them or through them.
They're like the common denominator.
The common denominator. So a lot of times you will be discussed a lot.
Yes.
And anything that you do, scratch anything, put your finger in your nose or anything, that will come up somewhere in a discussion. Okay,
I think that's actually something that a lot of CrossFit coaches may miss. Their influence and their, like, how people look up to them. You know, like something that I was thinking about the other day is, if you walk into a CrossFit box and the coach, it's his or her fifth class for the day and they're tired, if you can see that and they look like they don't care a lot and they're just trying to get through this class so that they can go eat or have a nap or whatever, you know, I'm probably going to go rather to the gym down the road where people smile.
Yeah.
You know, it's little things that can really have a big impact on the experience.
No, it's absolutely.
Yeah.
So we try and make our coaches very conscious on that. For that reason, also, we don't allow, except for emergency, our coaches to coach more than 3 classes a day. Because we need the energy levels to the point where it needs to be a little bit contagious.
Definitely.
If your energy is low and you get the lower energy classes, I mean, 5 a.m. in the morning, it is really tough to go pumping out there and blitzing. And some coaches can do it. Some really struggle with it. Yeah. But in general, for that specific class time, the energy level from the energy from the coach needs to dictate the energy of the class.
Definitely.
And they have to be, contagious. That's the word.
So Stevie, you know, what advice would you give other gym owners in terms of how they can actually stand out and have their own unique vibe?
Well, I think it's relatively easy if you just stay true to, it's going to sound super cheesy, but if you stay true to your own personality. The biggest mistake some of our coaches make when they start out is that they try and emulate a senior coach. They try and be that personality. They try and make the same jokes.
Yes.
They try and and it does not land.
It's not them.
It's not them.
Yeah.
And it happens with everyone when you start out and you want to do a big presentation. You feel like you need to project someone else or project this different person. And it's only when you get really comfortable in that environment that you kind of start projecting who you are.
Yes.
And that's the thing that people resonate with.
So it's like authenticity.
Authenticity is the most important thing to us.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how, if something does not feel right at the gym, we discuss it immediately.
Yes.
If something feels off, if there's an interaction where someone gives you a weird eye, we will have the discussion. What's going on? Why is the interaction that we just had not authentic?
Yes.
And that keeps everything open. As long as all the channels, the communication channels are open, you kind of avoid most traps.
People can feel it even in your social media presence. You know, the more authentic the interaction, and it's not just trying to do a cookie cutter approach of, you know, posting your best snatches and, you know, no one actually cares about that. It's sharing authentic personality through your digital channels as well, which is something you guys, like, we even look up to you guys in your social media. You know, you can really see the personality shine through, and it is, like you say, it's contagious and it resonates with people.
That's something Ty did really well. He doesn't care. He doesn't care for judgment when it comes to the gym or us or who we trying to be or not trying to be, who we are as a personality. So we just accepted it and kind of opened up, and then it's easy.
Yes.
Because that's what people expect. People expect you to be true to your personality.
Yeah.
But as soon as you try and hide and be something different, that's when it gets tricky, because then people expect you to be that person every single time.
So it's like, CrossFit boxes are, or, any gym really, you're offering the same product and service as every other gym out there. And so if you're competing on equipment or, those extrinsic things, it's very difficult to differentiate, but your personality is unique to yourself. So like the way I think about it is if you focus on your personality, you actually have no other competition.
Yeah.
And you will attract people who resonate with that. And other businesses have their own personality as well. And the people that are attracted to them are more appropriate to their personality and their identity. So no, it's awesome. Just to close off, what is next for Motley Crew?
We have plans to expand. The discussions we have is that we want to be the next biggest thing. If you look at not the CrossFit world, the actual fitness world.
Yes.
So our aim is to fight with someone like the Virgin Actives.
Yes.
For memberships. Even though our product is a lot more expensive, people kind of feel the value once they experience the product.
Yes.
So the value is the coaching and the community. That's where you get the value. If you look at a Virgin Active, everyone's got a cheap membership somewhere with Virgin Active, and they go to the swimming pool with their kids.
Yeah.
But that is not the thing that keeps you coming back and wanting more.
100%.
So our 10-year plan is to be in every town in the country, and be the alternative for people that are tired of the conventional gym.
Yeah.
Or even the conventional CrossFit gym, and to come and experience an actual community.
Something unique.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Stevie. That was awesome. I feel that many fitness businesses could benefit from listening to your story and your mindset around everything. So if I think about it, the 3 takeaways that I picked up from our chat are: number 1, if you want your members to stick around long term, ensure that every member feels like they actually belong. And that can literally be as simple as greeting members by name as they walk through the doors and making them feel noticed. Number 2, you have to stay true to your authentic brand personality rather than copying what others are doing or trying to force something that's not actually you. And number 3 is that's something that I truly believe in, is that culture always comes first. Because that's actually what separates you from the herd. So thank you so much again for coming today. I really appreciate it. I really enjoyed our chat. Until next time. Cheers.
Cheers.